everyone, welcome to another episode of Blackpacking. It is your host, Jerica, and due to the current state of the world, it's almost unavoidable to not talk about the COVID-19 virus. It has changed the everyday lives of millions, and travel plans have obviously been disrupted because of it. So on today's episode, we will feature 3 different travelers all affected by this. We will have an aviation writer, a flight attendant, and a nurse. And the first guest we will have is Benet.
Hi, glad to be here.
And Benet, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from, or where are you living right now?
I am based in Baltimore, and I am the credit cards editor for the Points Guy, and I also do some aviation and travel writing for them.
Okay, and tell me a little bit more about the Points Guys.
We are a website that's been around almost 10 years, and we cover not only credit cards, but we tell people how they can use the points and miles that they earn on credit cards and for hotel and airline loyalty programs. And we also do a lot of travel pieces. We want to show people the places that we go and the airlines we fly and the hotels that we stay in, and give an unvarnished view, because a TPG pays for its own travel. We do not take free travel from any travel company, so we can give unvarnished reviews.
Okay, and what kind of got you into that?
Well, my father is an Air Force officer, and I took my first plane ride from New York to London on a Pan Am 747 when I was 6 years old. And that was a time when flying was very civilized. I am aging myself, but you actually dressed up, and my mother had my sister and I in our little dresses, our hats and our purse and white gloves, and patent leather shoes. I mean, because that's what you did. I know most people are like, oh my God, are you kidding? No, we actually did dress up. And then we just traveled the world, and we moved to Washington, D.C. when I was in high school, and I went to college in D.C. and just continued to travel, and have been traveling ever since. I just got my 4th passport, so
Wow.
a big milestone, yeah.
What was it like growing up and moving from place to place?
I was one of those that went with the flow. To me, home was where the pillows were. So if I had a pillow, that was the home. When we lived in Europe, it was great because we lived in Belgium, but my parents were really good about taking us around Europe. So, of course, we went to Paris. We went all around Belgium. We went to Amsterdam. I can't, to this day, look at a tulip and not think about the tulip fields that my parents took us to, and it was just an amazing field of color. We went to Spain. We went, up and down the English coast. So we went to Germany. So we took full advantage of the opportunity while we were still living in Europe. And then after I graduated from college, I just continued to travel and never stopped.
Wow, that's awesome. So you're just used to traveling. You do know a lot. How have you seen travel change, or like the travel community change? I feel like since you've been doing it so young.
Well, number one, as much as I enjoyed the airlines before deregulation, because it really was a golden age, more civilized, I'm happier now because more people can afford to travel. Back then, travel really was only for the wealthy. So we were able to fly because the government paid for our airfare. But when we left from New York, our cousins came out to visit us, and they were dressed up because you just never saw people who could afford to fly. And especially minorities. I mean, you think about it, if it was hard for just everyone to fly, that means double that with minorities. So, it just seemed to be an aspirational thing that was never going to happen in a person's lifetime. And now airfares are much more reasonable. I mean, it's not as civilized as it used to be, but more people can go to where they want to go without having to pay an arm and a leg. But also how lucrative it can be for companies. I mean, the light bulb is finally coming on with these companies that they're ignoring. The black travel business is a $60 billion a year business. That's a lot of money. And there's always been this myth that black people didn't go anywhere, and that is just so very untrue. I am in so many black travel groups on Facebook where I've gotten some great, I consider myself a seasoned traveler, and I have really upped my game on the places that I want to go to because I see what other people are doing and where they're going.
Did you ever kind of think that would be your path when you were younger?
I didn't. I just did not know that people would actually pay for me to write about my little hobby. But once I did, I latched on and never let go. And I mean, as an aviation journalist, I've gotten to fly most of the world's airlines. I've been, just all over the globe, really doing some interesting things and meeting interesting people and just great. I have no complaints.
How have things been change work, life, and travel-wise due to the coronavirus?
Oh, well, you've seen it. Everything is grounded. When it started getting really serious, I was getting calls and emails and texts and messages asking what should be done. Should I cancel my trip? Will I get money back? And it's been crazy. And here we are at this point, and there are still questions out there. The airlines, travel companies, cruises, they've all been slammed, and people are calling, ringing phones off the hook on social media, trying to get answers too. And, it's just really unfortunate. And I think what's really crazy about it is we don't have an end in sight. So we don't know how long this is going to last. People are kind of talking about trips in the summer and the fall, and we just don't know. So everybody is just on this holding pattern.
Yeah, everything seems too up in the air. It's weird kind of for me, it being the beginning of the year, and I want to plan out, my year, what trips I'm going to be taking. And now I'm like, I can't do that. I've already had a couple domestic trips and plans canceled, but as far as internationally, I don't know when I'll be able to travel outside the States again.
Yeah, and Jerica, here's the crazy part. There are sites like Secret Flying and Flight Feed and Scott's Deals that are still pushing out flight deals, and these fares are incredible. They're really, really low. I saw one, for example. We have an editor who lives in Houston, and our offices, TPG's offices, are based in New York. I saw a Houston, New York fare for $75 round trip. I'm seeing sub $200 fares to London. It's just crazy. Now, they say that these are late spring, summer, and fall bookings. So, who knows where we're going to be then? But, it's definitely, it gets you thinking about, am I going to plan again?
Yeah, are you more on the side of not taking those deals and traveling and playing it safe, or kind of hopping on those deals?
Well, every person has to decide. And I have seen some ones that have really tempted me. But for me, I'm holding back. I want to wait a few more weeks to see how this all plays out.
Right.
But I do know friends and other people who are hopping on these deals because, depending on how far out you go, there are all these changes with not being charged cancellation or change fees. So, why not?
Yeah, I know. I've been getting tons of emails and my travel apps, like round trip to New York, $45, and it's hard to not want to book that flight, especially like because you're like, oh, what am I gonna do once I get there, like not knowing what the future holds.
Well, yes, because you look at the hotels. Hotels are either entirely shutting down, laying off thousands of people, or they're staying open, but they are closing things up quickly. So even if an Airbnb is getting cancellations left and right, so even if you do get to the destination you want, there's no guarantee that you'll have somewhere to stay.
Right. Yeah, things are just crazy right now. I can't even. It's hard for me to even put into words how to like process things. Just really taking everything one day at a time and seeing where things go.
Well, I'm looking ahead. My plan was to book a trip to Cambodia, Vietnam, and Laos in October, November. And I'm looking ahead to that. I still want to do that. And the Points Guy, we're getting ready to start a series of posts where our editors are talking about where they want to go once the ban lifts. And we're also kind of reissuing a lot of the stories on the places that we've been, the airlines that we've flown in all classes, and the hotels we stayed in, because we want people to start thinking about the future, knowing that we're still dealing with a very serious and fluid situation. But we want people to start thinking ahead.
Do you feel people will be more hesitant to travel?
I think they will. I think it's going to be after 9/11. That one was different because we know what happened, and we know it was an accident and an anomaly. So, but still, it took travel months to get back up to speed.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to have to deal with that with the after effects of coronavirus too. But what I will say is I am pretty sure that there are going to be some amazing bargains out there to get people back on the planes, back in the hotels, back on trains, back on cruise ships. If you're looking for some travel bargains, once this dies down, I think you're going to see some amazing ones.
Yeah, I think so too. And I like encourage people to still travel once this is over, and keep in mind like everything that we all kind of just learn and are learning about this, and taking care of ourselves while we're traveling, and make sure we're clean and being sanitary, but like not stop that from us traveling to new places.
Yeah, I just got a new passport, so I've got one stamp in it. I've got to fill that puppy. So this is not going to last forever. So start thinking about what you want to do once restrictions have been lifted and you're ready to go traveling again, because it's a big world out there, and TPG is here to help. We've got all kinds of resources and information and advice on where you can go once this is all done.
Thank you, Benet, so much for coming on this show and telling us a little bit more about the Points Guy and what you all do and your long history of traveling and how the coronavirus has affected you, and giving us, some hope and optimism to keep traveling once this is all over with.
Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Next up, I have Joy, who is a flight attendant. How are you today, Joy?
Hi, guys. Thanks for listening.
My name is Julie Aramanya. I have worked for a major airline for the past 2 years based out of Atlanta. And I also have been in the Navy Reserves for 9 years. So both jobs kind of allowed me to travel, which I'm very blessed to have.
Yeah. And what kind of got you into traveling initially?
So my mom is a single mom of 6 kids, and she actually came to the United States in 1980 from Nigeria. But, she would always talk about growing up in Nigeria. She would talk about people with wealth, going to London or, going to Paris or coming to America. So I always kind of grew up with that wanderlust and just wanting to explore more of the world. But since she was a single mother of six, we couldn't really afford it. So we never did vacations. We never did anything like that. The first time I actually got on a plane was actually my sophomore year of college. But that also coupled with my older sister. My older sister travels a lot as well. She's an English professor, but she travels a lot. She's probably been to about 60 countries. So I think both of them just made me really want to travel. For the longest time, though, I had a self-limited idea that only people with money could travel. And that was part of the reason, I joined the military and I became a flight attendant, because I just didn't think that I would be able to travel without, a place that could, give me discounts or would, be able to, kind of foster that or encourage it. But that's kind of what got me into traveling and wanted me to, encourage me to want to travel.
Yeah. And up until as of recently, how would you describe being a flight attendant has been in the past couple years?
It's been so amazing. One of the coolest things about being a flight attendant is you can go to 10 different cities in 3 days. And it's constant. I've never been kind of that 9 to 5 person. I've always been a person that is, on the go. So, things change, depending on the weather or, just if there's a delay, there's just so many moving parts. And, every trip you're flying with different people, so you're meeting all of these different personalities. And then you're also meeting, celebrities. It's one day I'll be in LA, the next day I'll be in New York City, the next day I'll be in Detroit. So it's also just really cool to see different parts of the country. And then also, to be able to go international and to go to all these different places and to be able to, have a free hotel, to have a free flight, to, get per diem to, layover in China for 3 days. It's those are the pinching moments where I'm just wow, I really love my job. And, we're there for safety, but it's also, it's not that labor intensive, it's very relaxed. People are generally pretty friendly, so I love it.
That's awesome. And do you feel like there are certain places you go to that you're like, oh, I wish while you're working that you wish you got to stay in longer?
Oh, of course, yeah. Especially international. Most of our layovers are anywhere from 1 day to 3 days, and it's really tough when you're in Paris for 1 day, and you're just oh man. But one of the things that a senior mama who's been flying for 26 years told me is she said you can always come back, and that's kind of the thing that I always say. I tell myself. That is kind of the toughest thing. Yeah, you'll go to Bogota or Montego Bay, or you'll go to all these amazing places, and you'll literally have 24 hours, and you just feel you just get a sliver of the city, and then you gotta leave. So that's always kind of tough.
Yeah, when you have those 24-hour time windows, are you more so relaxing at the hotel, or are you oh, I can go and sightsee for a little bit of this 24 hours?
really depends, just like my work schedule. Like one of the things that I've done is I've kind of, in the airline industry, we call it slam clickers. And it's basically a person who just like goes into their hotel room and they like slam the door shut and then they like, they turn the key so it's like click. And I told myself when I started flying, I was like, I will never be a slam clicker. I'm going to go out. But sometimes it's like, recently, in January, I flew to Frankfurt, Germany, and, it's like a 9-hour flight. We had crew rest, but it was still like a 9-hour flight, and then I went out, and then, just sightseeing, to dinner, and then I worked the flight back, and on my day off, like, I had 4 days off, but I got sick, and for those 4 days, I was, like, recuperating. So I'm still trying to find the balance between enjoying these new places I've never been before, but then also like making sure that I rest and I like, make my health priority, because that's still, some of these people who've been flying for 26 years, they've been to Germany 8 times, so they don't need to go out and explore anymore.
Right.
But I'm still new enough where there are so many places that I haven't been that I still want to explore. I was torn. I didn't know if I had vacation in May. So I either wanted to go to Cape Town, South Africa, or I wanted to go to Bangkok, Thailand. And I kept going back and forth, and then this happened. So, neither is going to happen. Those were kind of like the 2 countries that were on the top of my list.
Not too bad choices. Does your schedule kind of vary as far as when you are working for the airlines? Is it like Monday through Friday type thing, or are you working on the weekends as well?
Yeah, I primarily work on the weekends just because with our industry, everything is basically seniority based. So what you do is you basically bid for the schedule that you would like, and then it depends on like what you can hold based on your seniority and also where you're based. And since I'm out of Atlanta, there's about 7,000 flight attendants in Atlanta, and since I've only been flying for 2 years, I was still pretty junior, so I do fly usually Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay. How has your job changed since the outbreak of the virus?
Delta and many other airlines are losing a lot of money by the day, and they're just trying to make sure that everybody is safe. They're trying to make sure that, we're still running the operation, but at the same time, people are just not flying as much as, they're practicing social distancing, and they're trying to flatten the curve. So whereas flights that could see 200 people, now they have anywhere from like 10 to 15 people. So they're definitely not generating as much money, and they're also parking a lot of the aircraft. They're canceling a lot of flights. Also, we're not flying internationally anymore. They've pretty much halted. I think now there's only 2 international countries that my airline goes to, like, and lays over. Like, most of it is just now they'll fly there, drop people off, and come right back. So the industry is just completely, I want to say it's at a standstill, but you can definitely feel the effect. When I go to the airport, Atlanta's airport is the world's busiest airport. It used to be, bustling, just like, loud and just like a lot of movement, and now it's very quiet. A lot of the restaurants are closed. There's just not a lot of people in the gatehouse. On the aircraft, just not a lot of people. Really quiet. You can get done with the service in like 20 minutes, whereas before it would take like 45. So that's been very different. Also, scheduling is working so hard. Our reservations department is working so hard. People are constantly calling, they're canceling, they're requesting refunds, they're rebooking, and then also our schedulers are, they're trying to cancel flights, they're trying to move our schedules around, and then on top of that, also our layover hotels, a lot of them are changing too because some hotels are having to close down because they just don't have the workforce to kind of support the operation. So it's on. It's kind of a fluid situation. We're also being inundated with a lot of information. We probably get about 5 to 6 emails a day with just different things that we need to be cognizant of. I just received an email about 5 minutes ago that we're going to need to start carrying like an exemption letter because some of the cities that we're going to are going into lockdown. And, if we get stopped by the police, we need to make sure that they understand that, we're going to work or we're, so yeah, there's a lot going on right now.
Yeah, that's crazy. How are you kind of feeling about things and like handling things personally?
Personally for me, it is pretty difficult because, like most people in America, I live paycheck to paycheck. So right now, I'm just kind of thinking of, what happens, worst case scenario if there is a furlough and, if I am not able to, fly for a while. I'm trying to just, eliminate a lot of things from my budget, like getting my nails done, getting my hair done, like little things like that. Also, with the cancellations of the flights, I'm a commuter. I still live in Nebraska, but I fly into Atlanta. So, if they cancel too many flights and if I'm not able to go there, I might end up getting a crash pad and just like moving to Atlanta, or I might even just take an unpaid leave. So I haven't exactly decided, but sometimes I do need to take a break from social media just because there's so many rumors, there's so many untruths, there's so much like sensationalism, and just kind of trying to decipher what's real and what's not, and just like, sometimes it can be overwhelming and just kind of exhausting. So I'm just trying to make sure that I, have my support system, my family, that I'm close to, that I'm talking to. Also, just that I'm just unplugging from all of that and just telling myself that, the airmen survived 9/11, so I think we're going to survive this, and we're going to come back even better than ever.
Yeah, I think so as well. It'll be interesting to see how much flying has changed once everything starts to get back to normal.
Definitely.
I wonder what kind of like precautions will be taken, at least like starting out, especially when people are flying again, and there'll probably still be known cases. Yeah, everything just seems very crazy, and I can't imagine kind of the stress or the position you've been put in, and kind of just having to be alert on everything that's going on, because I feel like it definitely affects you more so than anyone, like your industry.
Definitely. One thing I will say, though, is that it's so important for people to practice social distancing and flatten the curve. I know that so many people don't want to cancel the trips right now because, they put money for it. But a lot of airlines are, they're really good about canceling things and giving you a refund. Same with hotels, same with Airbnb. And, those destinations are still going to be there. So, regardless if you have to, wait until next year, it's still going to be there. So I want to make sure people understand that.
Yeah, how important that is. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
When things kind of start up and return to normal, how will you feel about flying and having passengers on the plane again?
So I feel like I almost took it for granted. It's like I remember looking at loads, like how many people were on a plane and seeing that a plane was full and just being like, a little frustrated, like, oh, this is going to be a busy 3 days because every flight is full and has 10 flights. Or, when I was like flying, on for vacation or something, and I have to fly standby. That's so it's basically wherever there is an open seat is where I can go. I remember, being upset because there were some places I wanted to go, like Hawaii or Johannesburg, that were just continuously full, and you just knew that you couldn't get on there because the flights were always full. But now it's like I would love to see a plane full again. I would love, because that means that we're doing well. That means that we're profitable. That means we're strong. So moving forward, like, I don't think I'll ever have that mindset again. I think I will always, feel so lucky and just so appreciative to, passengers that are like on my plane and, trust us with their travel, and also just for the travel industry too. It's just like, I think we've always been able to know that, we've been able to like travel wherever we wanted. So now, the country's closing the borders. I think when they open them up again, it's just going to make us appreciate travel so much more. I'm going to appreciate travel so much more, so I'm excited for that time.
Yeah, me too. And I it's weird because I feel like the travel industry was doing really well. I feel like it was at its kind of peak. Like everyone was kind of traveling, getting more comfortable with like the idea of traveling. And so it sucks to, kind of have this hit to the travel community. And a lot of people I talked to, they were planning their first trips like out of the country this year. They were inspired by the podcast, and they're like, oh, I find it like I'm gonna do it. Like I'm gonna plan, even if it's like a small trip to like Mexico. That that people were finally doing it. So
also Black people,
yes,
like Black people, Black women, like Black men, like I've never seen so many like podcasts, blogs, YouTube channels of like people traveling, and it was so cool to see, like solo travelers, to see, women over 50. Like, yeah, it really started to explode, and nowadays planes, well, before all of this, it's like plane tickets got really affordable.
Yeah, thing that you didn't think about before, or you like thought like could happen, but you were starting to feel like safe about because it hadn't actually happened, and like now it's happened. So, well, yeah. Joy, thanks so much for coming on the show and sharing a little bit about how Corona has affected your life and your job, and just being optimistic.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Hopefully, you're still being a flight attendant 20 years from now, and you'll have this crazy memory of the first 2 years of this going on. And you'll be like telling all the new flight attendants. You're like, man, you're like, don't even worry. This one time,
I was thinking about that, kind of how the senior moments told me about 9/11. I'm going to be telling junior flight attendants about Corona 2020.
And what did you say your website is?
It's www.traveltheworldwithjoy.com.
Traveltheworldwithjoy.com. All right.
Yes.
I will check it out, and listeners, you guys should check it out. I'm assuming, was it Joy to the World? It was probably was taken.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and the next guest that I'll have speaking on the show today is Kim.
Hi, how are you guys doing?
And brought Kim on the show because Kim is a nurse, and obviously we need a little bit of a medical perspective on everything that's going on.
Yes, always good to have a little medical going on in your life.
Yeah, especially right now. Kim, where are you from?
I am from Houston, Texas, and I also live in Houston, Texas as well. So Houston is pretty much all I know.
Yeah. And obviously, like, you're a nurse there. How are things with the virus there? I mean, Houston's a pretty big city.
Yes.
How have you?
Very big city, and we actually have one of the largest medical systems here, and it is quite interesting, and it's quite a change, especially since the citizens are not used to this type of change. Currently, I am in public health nursing, so I'm more so in the public health area. So this really pertains to me because I just don't take care of one patient. I continually take care of the whole population in a sense. And the coronavirus that's going on right now is pretty much up my alley because it is a public health topic. So with the nurses now, we are currently, and I work with the school settings. So at the moment with schools being down, we're just pretty much providing education, checking on students, checking on the public, providing education to the citizens that live here in the area, providing food distribution to them, to families, to students, also making sure that they are staying at home and following the guidelines, and also if they feel that they are in any need, short of breath, fever, to go to the doctor. But at any cost, we're just trying to educate them that it's best for them to just listen to the medical experts and keep themselves safe, keep the community safe, their family safe, and try to stay at home as much as possible until we hear further notice about the virus that is going on.
Yeah. And do y'all currently have like a stay-at-home order in place there?
Yes, we actually do have a stay-at-home order in place. I believe it was placed a few days ago, and it's it was up until April 2nd, but nationwide, the President Trump, he wants to extend it until April 30th, but the state of Texas haven't made any extension as of yet. So far, ours is until April 2nd as of now, but that could change at any moment.
Yeah, I think here in Atlanta, ours is until April 6th. So, but I have a feeling, because I saw Trump change it today until the 30th, so.
Right, and I believe it's just state-based. The governor officials will all get together and they'll make that decision based on their state whether or not they feel the need to extend the stay-at-home orders. And we also have orders where if you're not what they call an essential worker, then you have to be pretty much curfew. You have to be in at a certain time unless you're going to work like at the hospitals or some construction work or some type of work where you are very needed in that area.
Yeah. And have you personally seen any cases yourself?
No, personally I have not seen any cases of myself, but I have assessed cases with those that are coming in, which pretty much doing travel assessment questionnaires, as well as taking temperatures and assessing for cough and fever. But personally, I have not seen any confirmed cases, but there are quite a few cases in the county that I live in, which is Harris County, and the numbers are constantly going up. The last I checked, it was about in the 200s, and that was maybe a few days ago. I'm not sure on the numbers right now, but it seems like the numbers jump so quickly.
Yeah.
Because one minute it was 8, and then it'll go up from 8 to 20 to now they're saying it's about 200. So it's kind of hard to. I'm pretty sure that our public officials are doing their job of keeping the numbers in order, but I haven't personally seen anyone or know anyone with the coronavirus, but I have been doing the traditional assessment as a registered nurse just to make sure, asking questions as if they've been out of the country for the last 7 to 14 days, do they have any symptoms, checking any temperature if the patients are coming in and out of the public facilities or the hospitals.
First of all, I want to say thank you for, taking on that job and that role. I'm sure it's a little stressful right now, and you're kind of, it seems like you're on the front lines of it.
Yes.
How are you kind of feeling when you're assessing cases? Are you starting to feel very overwhelmed? Are you concerned about your own health?
Overwhelmed, definitely, but this is um, this is something that I love. I love nursing, and honestly, as frontline, we haven't dealt with anything to this intent, but as a nurse, I have taken care of a variety of patients that could possibly put myself at risk, and I have had friends who have encounter situations where their health was put at risk for taking care of certain patients. But I've taken care of patients with HIV, C. diff, tuberculosis, and we just pretty much had to take the same precautions that the nurses and doctors and other healthcare professionals are taking right now with the PPE, gloves, hand washing, and it's just very unfortunate that there is a shortage of the PPE equipment that we need, but it seems that the government is trying their best to make sure that the frontline medical professionals are receiving the equipment that they need to safely take care of their patients as well as safely protect themselves.
Yeah. What is the PPE?
Yes, the PPE is the proper protective equipment, and the equipment varies on what type of virus or condition you're dealing with. For example, with tuberculosis, that is where you will have to what we call gown in every time you will go into that patient room. And I believe that they are treating coronavirus as the same as if it was airborne. So they will want you to have the N95 mask. That's why that they do not really recommend that citizens do not wear the mask, because just the regular masks are not effective. It's actually a mask that's called N95 mask, and that mask has to be specifically fit for you and you only. In the hospitals, we have to go through a test, which takes about 2 hours, where we fit the mask around our mouth, around our bridge of our nose. We do different tests like talking and bending over just to make sure that nothing is seeping out. So these masks are very specific to you. You have to have the specific size in order to prevent your airway. Along with that N95 mask, PPE also requires your gown, gloves, as well as a surgical cap for your head. And then also sometimes you may see shoe coverings as well to protect your shoes when you're going in and out of these patients' room with these infectious diseases or viruses.
Okay, so when we kind of see on the news that a lot of hospitals are having a shortage of supplies, is it it's like the PPE specifically?
Yes, it is like with the gloves, especially with our normal citizens are buying gloves and masks and gowns and all of these things, and this is something that the frontline medical staff need to protect themselves in order to take care of these patients who have coronavirus or who are suspected to have coronavirus. And it's more so of a shortage because once you use it and you out of that room, that's it. You do not reuse it. You use it, a new type of equipment or new type of gown, gloves, mask, a new one each time you go in and out the room. And now on the news, I'm seeing that a lot of the places like New York and Atlanta And even here in Houston, in the hospitals, that they are pretty much forcing the medical frontline staff to reuse masks or reuse gloves and things like that. And typically, in order to prevent infection, it's just supposed to be used one time, and if you need to use it again, you need to get new equipment or new masks, gloves, caps, shoe coverings, gowns.
Yeah, wow. What would you say people can do to help provide medical professionals with these supplies?
I would suggest, even though I know the governor officials and the state officials are working very hard, but as a citizen, if maybe you can do anything to kind of help involve in your community, maybe you can do something as simple as maybe donating. Maybe you bought some extra gloves that you may not need or cleaning supplies. Maybe you can do a donation to these hospitals or to these community clinics. Also, it'll be a good idea to maybe, as a citizen in the community, to help your community out, to possibly start a petition just to, so that way you can take it to your mayor, take it to the governor, so that we can get more supplies for medical professionals or anyone, not just medical professionals, but our cleaning staff too. They are at risk too. They do a great job with cleaning. So maybe sign a petition or getting a petition started, maybe starting a group meeting or group advocacy, talking to your mayor, talking to other healthcare professionals in your area to see what you could do to help them out, or if you could maybe lend them some extra supplies that you may have. That could be a good start to help out anyone that work in the hospitals or in the community clinics, or anyone that deal with medical issues or medical diagnosis.
Yeah, I think those are great ideas, especially to the people that bought packs and packs of gloves when this all happened, and are not using all of them.
Yes, it'll be a good way for them to just donate maybe 2 or 3 boxes or whatever they have. It may not, a little goes a long way, so that would definitely help.
Yeah, and all of those are really great tips. When I know traveling seems kind of like an uncertain future for a lot of people, but kind of when we do start traveling and moving around, do you have any tips for people while traveling and going to new places?
Oh, yes. Although this time people are a little iffy about traveling, I truly believe that this will pass, just like the other cases that we done had in the past, like the malaria and Ebola. I actually experienced Ebola as a first-year nurse, and I was terrified, but it passed. But in due time, I do believe that this will pass, and I truly believe to just live with intent and not fear. But this will pass, and I believe that people will start back traveling in due time. In the meantime, I do recommend that when you do traveling, just to take those preventative measures, just to make sure you're disinfecting, you're washing your hands, you are just being aware of your surroundings, you are staying home when you're sick, even if you're not feeling too well and you have a travel plan. I do recommend that you just stay home, and then probably maybe rearrange your travel. First things that we learned when I was in nursing school, hand washing is the number one preventative measure of preventing illnesses and virus. So it is very important to wash your hands for at least 20 seconds. And what we learned in school is to sing the birthday song. sing the birthday song, and that's how you know that that's a good amount of time of you washing your hands, and not just a quick in and out washing your hands. You want to make sure you're using soap and water, and you want to make sure you're actually scrubbing the palms of your hands, getting in those fingertips, rinsing your hands with water when you're done. And also, it's very good to not touch the faucet to turn off the water. I recommend that you get a napkin and use that napkin to turn off the faucet, and then you will dry your hands. And if you need to open the door, use a napkin to open the door as well. But washing your hands is very important before you eat, after you eat, after you use the bathroom, whenever you're touching common surfaces in your workplaces or in your homes, such as the desktops or the computers. I'm very glad to see that now people are more cautious of disinfecting, but this is something that we should have been doing on a normal basis, whether you're at work or you're at home. Things that you touch the most, like your desk, your computer, these are things that you need to be wiping down before you get started working, and then after when it's time for you to go home. Also, I recommend to drink lots of water, stay very hydrated, at least 6 to 8 cups of water a day, eat a well-balanced meal, get some good protein, fruits, vegetables, get exercise in too. A lot of people, when they think exercise, they think the gym, but the gym is, the gym is not necessarily, you can easily do some yoga at home, which is free, or you can just walk. I know that a lot of people, some people do not believe in vaccinations, and that's okay. You are attuned to your opinions and your beliefs, and I know that some people may not do vaccination because of religious beliefs or maybe illness beliefs, but if you're able to get your vaccinations, I would highly recommend getting your flu vaccines every year as well. And those are pretty much the general tips that I would recommend to prevent the spread of any type of illness or virus. But thank you so much. And if anyone have any questions or would like to get in contact with me, they can follow me on all social media, which is Law Abiding Nurse, LAWABIDINGNURSE.
Yeah, well, check her out. And if you have any medical questions, traveling or non-traveling related, Kim seems like a good person to ask. Thank you all again for listening. I know this episode was a little bit longer, but I wanted to get a few different perspectives on how people are being affected by the current situation. Until the next episode, y'all stay safe out there. Bye.